Hi everyone, welcome to Rail Stuff's YouTube channel. This is the first video, apart from a couple of little videos, adverts that I put on just to kickstart the channel. This is the first video, so welcome along. If you're not familiar with Rail Stuff, and there's good reason because we're pretty new. Rail Stuff is an online retailer. And what I do is I specialise in scenery and accessories and everything that is around the outside of the track and the trains. There's so many people out there that are phenomenal to go to when you need your next loco or you need some more track. And the thing that has always interested me just as much as the machines that we send up and down our tracks is the scenics that goes around it. So that was the focus of Rail Stuff when I set it up, and it's developing quite well. So if you don't know anything about us, you can find out on rail-stuff.com. What we really commit to is fair prices, good service, simple explanations and a good range. But the reason I wanted to just start this channel was there's quite a lot of questions that I get on a regular basis, either through contact at the store or through meeting people at shows and things like that. So what I really wanted to do was spend some time making some little videos to just answer some of those basic questions. And the one that I wanted to start with today was really focused around weathering. Now, I'm not going to profess to be a weathering expert in terms of my skills and handiwork, but I do love to experiment with different types of materials for weathering. I'll be honest with you, I'm not much for weathering locos and rolling stock. I don't know why, maybe I'm just a little bit old-fashioned in that regard, but I do love weathering buildings and fencing and bridges and anything that goes around the railway. So probably the biggest question I get asked is, how should I start weathering? Should I go pigment? Should I go oil wash? Or is there something else for me to look at? So at Rail Stuff, we work with Modeller's World, who make a superb range of weathering products, including this. So this is brand new. I'll just try and get it in the shot. Okay, this is their acrylic weathering paint, which is sort of, in terms of consistency, somewhere between an oil wash and a normal acrylic paint. So I thought probably the easiest thing for me to do was actually just get a piece of white plasticard. Nice bit of Javis plasticard available at Rail Stuff, and I just wanted to actually show you what the different products look like with just a single brush on some white card. In terms of brushes, I've taken out a Humbrol stipple brush. I assume it's stipple and not stipple because it's got two P's, but I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments if I've got that wrong. These are ideal for pigments, but they're also good for acrylic and enamel paints as well. So this is a good sort of all-round weathering brush. You might notice these as well, but I'll come on to those in just a moment. So let's start with the oil wash. So this one here is the Modeller's World Dark for Panzer Grey. So this is quite a dark greyish, blackish, hint of brownish kind of colour. I'm sure there's a more technical explanation, but that'll do for now. They come in 30ml bottles, which will actually last you quite some time. Polish brand Modeller's World, making some really nice quality products. They don't normally have a broken lid like this. That was entirely my fault. But they do have a little metal ball inside, so it makes the shake and mix a little bit easier. So let's give that a really good shake up now. There you go, you can hear the metal ball probably. Nice safety lid on the top there, and it actually smells a bit different to a lot of washes and things. It's a lot less solventy in the wash. Now I've just taken one of these little empty plastic pots, which are really handy to have, so I can just drip some into there. You see it drips out, it doesn't flood out. So we've got a small amount in that pot there, so obviously I'm just going to dip my brush in, make sure the brush is fully absorbing the wash there, and I'll just give it a quick wipe over here so you can see what it looks like on a first pass. So you'll see that it's quite diluted compared to a paint, and a wash will normally take a few passes for you to get it on. The other thing is, you generally wouldn't use it on plain white card like this. So that's why I've got, so this is just a piece of corrugated iron plastic here, and I'll just brush some of that wash on there, and you can see it's very different in terms of how it gets applied to something like that. Now there are multiple ways that you can use an oil wash. We'll come on to that in future videos, but that gives you an idea of how it goes on to the plastic. So we'll put that back to one side. I'll put that brush over there because I'm going to need a fresh one for showing you the pigments. So just as well, there's a few in this packet. So let's get this larger one out here. Now, pigments seems to be one of those things that people are scared of, but actually I find pigments a really nice weathering material to work with. The Modeller's World ones, so this is the fresh rust. Modeller's World don't just give you an option of one type of rust. You get fresh rust, standard rust, or old rust as your options, so you can be really specific. You can see it's a very light powder. It's not particularly sticky, it doesn't stick together, so there's not clumps of it, it's nice and light. But also the thing that I love is that it's in these wide open pots. So often with other brands, you've got this tall pot that you're blindly dipping your brush into and really not knowing if you're getting anything at all. This, you can see exactly where you're going, so I'm just going to put some on a brush here, and I'm just going to give it a wipe over the paper. So again, you'll notice it just gives you a little bit of streak there, a little bit of light dusting. It's something that you would probably need to go over multiple times. I'll just see if that can focus in so you can see it, to get a desired effect, or maybe you just want it a little bit light in the background. But again, let's just go back to our piece of plastic here, the corrugated. I'll just dip my brush back into the pigment and just give that a brush over there. Now, a pigment isn't going to give you a full coverage, but you'll notice how it just gets into those gaps. It gives a light dusting effect over the top of the plastic. So, you know, that has its place in many ways, especially when it comes to rust. Okay, so we've seen what oil wash and what pigments look like. Now let's take a look at this new one. Now, I'm going to level with you. I haven't opened one of these before. They are brand new. I've only had them in a few days. But again, you give it a good shake up. You've got a pipette topper. So you can then just drip out the amount you need. Again, I'm just using one of these plastic pots here. So I need to just get a little bit more out there. This one that I'm having a look at here is the light rust. Now, these weathering paints can be used in airbrushes as well. They can be used in many different ways. You can use them with brushes and sponges, all sorts of things. I quite like the foam brush that you can use. Now we'll just get one more brush out. Again, just so you get a nice clean brush look at it. So this is just one of the smaller stipple brushes. So again, just dipping into the weathering paint there, and I'll give it a pass over here, and you'll see it is somewhere between a paint and an oil wash. So same thing again. Let's take a look at it on the corrugated plastic. Now this isn't something that you would probably give a full paint on. You would probably use this just to get into crevices and things like that. It may be that you then dab it off with a bit of kitchen towel or something like that, but you notice it doesn't sort of stick in the same way that the oil wash did. So this is very much more for using in the gaps. Now, of course, you can start to mix these together. So for example, where we've got the still slightly tacky oil wash on the side there, if you were then to use some pigment over the top, and that gives you a very different finish to just the pigment itself. It may also be that you want to just get it into some smaller spaces or something like that. Now this is where these little Expo micro applicators come in handy. So these are like tiny brushes. Not even sure whether we'll be able to see those. I'm still working out which direction this camera goes in. It is tiny in terms of the head on the brush. That's ideal for getting into small spaces. So let's just flip this round. I'm just going to use a little bit more oil wash here. So let's just do a run of that oil wash down there. Now whilst that's still wet, I'm just going to dip into the pigment there and just add a little bit into, there's like a fold line in the corrugated iron. Now you probably wouldn't have it in lines like that. So now if I get a touch more wash and give it another wash, you'll notice it just starts to seep in, it becomes part of that, it even starts to just run into some of the gaps as well. Like I say, there's a million and one different ways that you can use pigments and washes and all of this kind of stuff, and we'll come on to those in future videos. But in terms of, very quickly, the difference between them, an oil wash looks like that, a pigment looks like that, and a weathering paint looks like that. So that's the three main tools, all available at railstuff, at rail-stuff.com. You can find yourself the weathering paints in a huge range of colours, the oil washes, huge range of colours, the pigments, huge range of colours, the Expo applicators, the Humbrol brushes, pretty much everything I've used here. Oh, and the plastic card as well. You can all get at Rail Stuff. Now, in a future video, I am going to be taking a look at this here. Doesn't look very much, but that is a Nightwing, I think it's a KWH6 if I remember rightly, intermodal container. So we're going to build that up, paint it, weather it, do all that kind of stuff with it. It's quite a nice little project to learn painting and weathering on. You'll also see at some point in the future I do these small dioramas. So this one here is using an Ancorton bacon butty hut. This one I'm still in quite early stages of, needs to do trees and background and finish the road and things like that, but I'm going to talk dioramas in the future because at the moment I don't have space for a layout, so I'm building some small dioramas to keep my eye in. So we'll come back and look at how to do some of that in the future as well. But hopefully this video has been useful for you. Standard YouTube thing to say. hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. There's going to be plenty more from rail stuff in the future. If you've got any questions, hit me up at rail-stuff.com. The chat box on there comes directly through to me, not to some kind of automated system somewhere. So come give me a shout, and maybe I'll see you at some shows as well. This weekend I'm off to Cradley Heath Model Railway Show and the BP Toy and Train Collectors Fair at Doncaster Racecourse. So hopefully see some of you there. Thanks for watching. Bye now.